Hi everyone and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits, and today is Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. This is episode 366. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more episode, and if you're new, I hope you enjoy what I bring to the podcast this episode, and you'll come back in the future and perhaps check out past episodes. So, it's been 2 weeks since, a little less than 2 weeks since my last podcast, and I have things to show. I've gathered my notes, I've gathered my projects, and I've gathered my thoughts, and had a cup of coffee in the afternoon, which is out of the norm for me. So hopefully I'll have some caffeine kicking in. I worked most of the morning doing shipping all day, which was not that bad. We got a new label printer yesterday for shipping labels. Makes my life so much easier. So I got a lot of packages out today. The mailman was quite surprised with the amount of packages going out, but all of our dumpster fire ornament pre-orders have gone out, and most of our October Cast of Characters mini Skein yarn clubs have gone out as well. So looking forward to people receiving that. And yeah, so other than that, I came home a little early so that I could record before Andy gets home. We have to do a little grocery shopping tonight, and then we're having dinner and just relaxing. So that sounds like a plan to me. I hope you all have been well. I hope that if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you're transitioning into the cooler weather. We're getting one last bit of a heat wave. Today's high was a high of 80. Yesterday was in the high 70s, but it is supposed to cool down again here over the next couple of days. So I'm getting my last shorts and flip-flop wearing in of the season probably, but if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're just getting started with all that. So anyway, what's been going on? The last 2 weeks, unfortunately last weekend we were supposed to vend at the Fall Fiber Expo in Ann Arbor. However, that was canceled last minute about a week prior to the event, which we kind of knew was going to happen. We had, we were just like, this would be the first event we would have. We thought we would give it a shot, with social distancing our booth and, wearing masks and doing all the precautions that we'd need to do. But they did cancel, so we were actually kind of happy. We didn't really want to go anywhere last weekend, so is what it is, but, onward and forward, right? So other than that, we've just been working. We had a contractor come out to the studio last weekend and look at things, and I did not get a good vibe from him, and needless to say, he has not responded to emails or provided us with a bid yet. But I did some more searching after not being able to get a hold of pretty much anybody in our town. I called about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different places. People either don't pick up or answer their messages, or if somebody was there to take a message, they said they would get back to us and didn't, or were told that they're too busy and they don't want the work. So I feel like a lot of these trade industries, they're either bombarded with work and so they feel like they can just turn down anything and they don't even need to make that connection for future work, or they just don't need to have customer service because there's so few of them on the market. But I am a huge believer in positive and good, if not great, superior customer service. If you've dealt with Leading Men Fiber Arts, we try our best to be superior at all times in our customer service and taking care of our wonderful customers. And so even if we have to wait, I don't want to wait to get work done, but even if we had to wait to find somebody who is good and can do the job and has great customer service, I'd rather do that than give my money to somebody who's not very respectful and can very much come off as arrogant, which was the case with some of the people we talked to. Anyway, we had a great guy come out yesterday. He actually had his wife and kid with him. He seemed like a really good guy. He is working on one job, but then he actually came up with some ideas for us on how we're going to remodel actually the counters, the checkout counters that are built into our studio in a way we had never even imagined. So we're really excited about that. We're going to face the front of them with corrugated metal and make them look really industrial and rustic. And so we're really excited for that. If we go with this guy, we have to wait to get a bid back from him. But he took an immense amount of notes and measurements, which, funny, first guy didn't. But we do have one other gentleman coming out tomorrow to look at things, so we shall see. But hopefully in the next couple of months, we will be remodeled, and Leading Men Fiber Arts will be an open store to the public for yarn, crafts, and gifts. So I'm super excited about that, to not only share Leading Men Fiber Arts, but if you know, here on the podcast, I like to put my hands into a lot of different crafts, and I like to shop. So being able to curate items that I really find interesting or unique, or give off a certain vibe or atmosphere to a crafting environment, is something that I really want to bring to the LMFA studio. So I'm planning on having a lot of grab and go kits and things you can do to try out anywhere, like things like macrame and hand sewn little stuffed toys for kids, and making your own bath bombs and lip balms, and there's even one that's like a kids edible chemistry kit that I want to try. Like, I want all these things that people can go, I want something to do with my family, or something to try out that's hands-on, and they can come in and try something, and it's not a huge investment. And if they like it, it could be a gateway craft into something else. But also, the LMFA studio is going to be, hopefully, I'm going to be able to curate a community of crafters and makers in our Central Illinois location that is welcoming of all and everyone, and those from near and far if people are traveling. And I'm excited. I've already been talking with a few people who are interested in doing lessons and teaching, and yeah, so a lot coming down the road. Probably going to need to hire another employee, part-time employee, so have to keep a lookout for good potential employees in the local area. Because one, we're going to need help on keeping the store open at regular hours. And two, I'm still going to be dyeing a lot, but we may need to bring in somebody to help dye so that I can do more of the administrative brainstorming follow through, if that makes sense. So we'll just see. Still, everything as of right now is hand-dyed between Andy and myself. Not saying that that's going to forever stay that way, but as of right now, everything is done between the two of us. So I brought water. Hopefully, I won't have the podcast belches like I usually do with the pop. So, other than that, that's where we're at on the studio forefront. We have a floor sample we really like, but we need to go to a couple different places and price out flooring, because if said contractor can do the job, it's going to be in about a month. So we need to make sure that we have, we're going to actually purchase the flooring. Everything else is going to be done through the contractor, but we want to make sure that we can have it on hand for when the job takes place. So we're excited. Then we have to talk with the local signage guy to get a sign for the building. It's crazy. I'm very giddy, but it's exciting. And Andy, as much as he grits his teeth, this is not where he wanted the business to necessarily go. He's realizing that this is a really good opportunity for us to not have to travel as much, and to be able to really curate and put our stamp into our local community. And I think that excites him. So he's on board. He's slowly coming around and letting me try new things and seeing positive results as of right now. Like branching out and bringing in new products. And so, yeah, can't wait to see what the future brings. All right, let's move on into what's been being made. What's taking a bow? What did I finish? I finished the Bumhugger Bolero by Knititude using Wool in the Gang Crazy Sexy Wool in the bronzed olive colorway. This is a super chunky yarn. It took 4 skeins, 4 200-gram skeins, and I used the size 19 US, which is a 15 millimeter needle. So it is a very simple pattern. After purchasing for $6, I really think you can look, like if you talk to anybody, you can do it without purchasing the pattern. I think it could have been a little bit cheaper, if not free. But that's just because all you're doing is a stockinette square with some ribbing on either end, like 4 rows of ribbing, and then you fold and seam. So this is what it looks like. Is a tube with some armholes. So you have some ribbing, and this is how it is worn. You can see here, this is not a seam. This is where I tried to weave in and join in the middle of the row because, you know, every smidgen of this yarn counts. In fact, I had to seam with a different yarn, but you can see where it is in the middle of the back, but it is what it is. My sister already took this last weekend on a lake weekend with one of her best friends and her fiance, and she wore it on the boat backwards to keep her warm. She said it was really nice. She's super happy with it. I did get her to begrudgingly model some photos for me, so I will enter those in here. So you can see from her face, she wasn't totally enthralled, and it is windy today, like super gusty and like blowing us over. So we tried our best to get a quick few snapshots before I headed home. But yeah, so here's the Bumhugger Bolero. It comes in one size, and my sister is a larger gal, as you saw, and it fits her great. So she was super happy with it. And yeah, so that's off the needles. All right, what's next? What's performing? All right, first up for me is my colorful linen stitch blanket. This is crocheted, and it is designed by Helena Cat. Sorry, I have some of that crazy sexy wool in my mouth. I am using various fingering weight and sport weight scraps held double to get a marled look, and it's about a DK weight when held double. And I'm using a size 8 or 8 hook. And here is where I am at. I really should put in a progress keeper for you to see. I will do that for next episode. This is it folded in half, so it's double this width. And I was maybe down here in the blue section last time, and I've added those. So there's it so far. It is going to be a dense blanket. I can already feel the weight of it right now. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I am not doing any rhyme or reason. I'm just randomly picking balls out of my scrap basket to crochet those. So that's that with the colorful linen stitch blanket. Next up for me is the Happenings Wrap by Laura Tabbitt. And this is, we're doing this as a knit along in the Leading Men Fiber Arts Ravelry group. And I'll talk about that more in the later on in the podcast. I do have several of my balls of yarn in yarn pouches from Pete Moss Novelties. She does not sell online. However, we do sell her yarn pouches in our online store. I have a few. I have about 6 in stock right now. I will be putting in an order for more of those soon. And so what's really neat about this pattern is there's 6 different yarns and 6 different stitch patterns, and you roll die, whether that's physical dice or via an app like I do on my phone, and it selects for you what pattern you're going to do and what new color you're going to introduce based on the sequencing in the pattern. So I did put a progress keeper in on this one, and the little lemon slice stitch marker, it's hard to see and my phone doesn't autofocus. That is from Baby Bees Trinkets, maybe? It is Baby's, the youngest of the bees from Bumblebee Acres Farm. She does Baby Bees Notions. Yeah, maybe that's right. Anyway, I bought it came with a progress keeper and a couple of stitch markers, which I'm using the stitch marker too. So I am using Leading Men Fiber Arts Soliloquy, which is 150 gram skein of Blue Face Leicester wool in Vengeance. That's the darkest color. That's my main color. So you need 150 grams of a main color, and then you need between 75 and 100 grams of 5 contrasting colors. And so I am using, let's see here, Can't Quit You, and then this is marled with Look on the Bright Side. And then we introduce Grapes of Wrath with Sandcastle. And then eventually up here, we have Sandcastle with Bend and Snap. So those are the 5 contrasting colors that I'm doing. And what's really neat is I'm just about to finish up the 5th section, but there are going to be 25 buttons and 25 different button holes throughout the wrap. So there are a ton of different ways you can style this. And that's what makes it so awesome. Besides all the random but yet organized chaos, which I love. So moving my stitch marker up for next episode. And yeah, that's going. That's being knit on a size 4 US, which is a 3.5 millimeter. And you think you use a size 3 at the beginning and end. Next up are my Deadest Man in Deadonia socks. This is knit out of 716 knit, 716 sock in her hardcore self-striping in the Deadest Man in Deadonia colorway. And I'm using a Leading Men Fiber Arts a mini skein in a director's interpretation, which is a one-of-a-kind. But it is supposed to be, it's like Copper Cloud, but a little darker for the cuff, heel, and toe. And here is where I'm at on the first sock. So there's the contrasting cuff. 2x2 rib for 10 rounds is what I do. Then I do 70 more rounds, so 80 total down the leg. And then I put in, where my progress keeper is there, I put in for a ripcord or an afterthought heel. And then I do another 80 rounds for my size 10.5, 11 men's shoe before I do a rounded toe. And then I go back and I cut in or pull out the waist yarn and do that. So I am loving this speckled stripe, and I'm knitting those on a size 1 US, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle. Again, I'm using one of Paula Pete Moss Novelties yarn pouches. She made this specifically for me, which is a cork fabric, and then it's in one of her project bags that my sister gifted me for my birthday that she picked up at our Knitting at the Estate retreat in 2019. All right, last but not least, I did not write down notes for this. Let me pull up the pattern. Hello, I got blown out there. I started a new project since I finished the Bumhugger Bolero, and that is the Aslan Hat designed by Vanessa Smith. This is a sport weight hat, and it looks like that. And this has some great texture to it. I'm doing the large And it's living in, this is a Tangerine Designs bag that I got at the first Super Summer Knit Together. I know she's doing a lot of designing. I'm not sure if she's still doing bags or not. I am using a skein of did I save the tech? Haha, I did. Dye Lot Studio Le Sport Weight in the Driftwood colorway. And they were one of our sponsors who donated prizes to the Knitting at the Estate Retreat last year. And so they also donated a coupon code, and I took advantage of that last year. She's a newer dyer. It says established in 2018. Yeah, see, it doesn't autofocus. But so there's that. And again, using my yarn pouches, I'm slowly collecting them. This one Paula gifted to me at the retreat last year. And this is very similar to our Sandcastle colorway, though slightly different, with some soft speckling. You can see you do a provisional cast on, which I did do, over a crochet chain with a crochet hook over the needle, which is the way that I like to do it if I have to do it. I always have to watch a video really quickly to grasp it, but what you do is a twisted, 1x1 twisted ribbing, and then eventually you're going to fold it up so it's a folded hemmed brim, and you'll pull out the ripcord or the provisional cast on and knit the live stitches from the provisional cast on with the live stitches on your needles so that it's a double thick brim, which I really enjoy. So, and then it'll go into the texture. So I worked on this 2 nights, and that's how much I've gotten, about just over 2 inches of twisted rib. I don't mind twisted rib. It doesn't really take any longer. So a lot of people are like, oh, twisted rib. I'm like, doesn't really bother me. Now, if it was purled, twisted purling, I don't like doing. I can do it here and there, like in lace stitches, but if it was ribbed, that would take a little longer. Just because you have to completely reorientate your hand and your arm and your needle. And so that, and that's being knit on a size 3 for the brim, which is a 3.25, and a 5. It'll move up to a 5 for the body, which is a 3.75 knitting needle. So, and that's what I've been working on the past 2 weeks. A lot of other side crafting going on, as well as I'm always working on swatches for the studio, the shop, the online store, so that you can see what our colorways look like knit up. Eventually, I will be caught up and only have to do the new colorway every month. However, we keep adding new colors, new semi-solid colors, and I'm still have a backlog to catch up on the amount of colors we had before I decided to knit swatches. So nothing in rehearsal for me at the moment. Behind the scenes, let's talk about some spinning. I just wound off on the Nitty Knotty before hitting the record button. My latest finished handspun. This was some Honey Gold Acres Merino in the Onamia colorway, which I picked up at the, what is it called? Shepherd's Market. Yes, not Shepherd's Harvest in Minnesota. It's the Shepherd's Market in Iowa. That was held at the end of February. No, it must have been right at the beginning of March. It was like 2 weeks before quarantine happened for pretty much everybody. But I picked up 2 braids of fiber from Honey Gold Acres, and she's from Minnesota, and she names all of her colorways after Minnesota towns. So this one's called Onamia. It has not been washed yet, but it is a 2-ply fractal spin. And it's got these dark, rich blues and greens with lighter blues, lighter greens, these bronzed golds, like bronze to olive colors. It's very, very pretty. Almost some dark saturated colors verging on black, but they're like a really dark blue. So this is going to be washed and photographed, and then it will be up in our online store under the handmade section here in the next couple of days. Oh, and I got really good yardage on this. So I got 426 yards of a fingering weight out of 4 ounces. I hardly ever break over 400 yards in a 4-ounce braid, but my last spin, which was 8 ounces, I got over 800 yards. So, and this one I got over 400. So maybe I'm just spinning a little thinner these days, but yeah. There you go. All right, so then I used, as I always do, my random number generator to pick from my fiber stash to tell me what I'm going to spin next, which is how I picked what I was going to knit next. That new hat, I used my random number generator on my stash. So all of my stash is in Ravelry, and unless it's paired for socks, I have paired an actual project with the yarn. And so what I do when I need a new project is I download my stash via Ravelry into a spreadsheet, which numbers every stash that I have. And then I use a random number generator to pick my next project. That way I don't have to get analysis paralysis on what I'm going to knit next or come up with an excuse on why I don't want to knit it. I have gotten all of this yarn because I have loved it at one point or another, and I need to use it at one point or another. That doesn't mean it stopped me from acquiring new things, but I need to not knit with the newest or necessarily the old. If I just leave it up to chance, then I can't come up with an excuse as to why I can't knit that yarn or that project. So random number picked for me, a old stash. In fact, the fiber doesn't look so great, but that's okay. I believe I picked this up at the first Super Summer Knit Together, which I believe was 2013. I think that's right. 2000 and... yeah, it might have been right before we started the shop. Or maybe it was 2012. I bet you it was 2012. Because I don't think we were considering dyeing yet. Because I went to the first year as just me, and then the second year I didn't go, and then the third year we started vending. So anyway, this is from Dana at Unwind Yarn Company. And this is a 75% blue face Leicester and 25% Tussle Silk in the colorway Alpine. So it's got lovely creams with like a dark olive green, a dark forest green, and these subtle pops of like a sky blue. So I will do a 2-ply fractal spin, which is what I enjoy doing on that. And I will give you some progress as we get there. So, ooh, these might be fun to do in contrast with another. Anyway, moving on. So that's my spinning. Let's move into the scene shop here, where I talk about other crafts. First off, I'm going to show you my cross stitching. So I have been working on a Heaven and Earth design called One for Sorrow, artwork by Stephanie Pugh Moon Law, which is going to look like this. This is what the artwork looks like. And I am stitching mine 2/1 half stitch on 25 count easy count fabric. I purchased the pattern and the material pack via the Heaven and Earth Designs website. They are known for charting full coverage pieces, which is pretty much my jam because I can just follow from one end to the other. I don't have to worry about counting out blank spaces, and then if you're off. Oh, and I did forget to show you, I was going to show you a new pattern that I bought. But here is where I'm at. I'm coming close to finishing page 4. Once I finish page 4, I will take it off the Q-snap and show you it in all its glory, because it does have a little bit behind the bar here. But yeah. But you can see there, each one of those little blocks is 100 stitches. So, and this is my head for comparison. So that's that. And then in terms of other crafting, hint, hint, we may be getting a few of these to put in our online store. Not this particular one, but this type of craft in our online store and eventually for the retail brick and mortar shop. And so I was shopping for different diamond painting kits for the shop, and I found not only canvases, but a few other really cool things that I'll be excited to share with you here later on. But I decided to pull out, I bought a big one initially, and I got kind of bored with it because I was doing too long at one time, staring straight down at the kitchen table, and it was hurting my neck. So I think if I give myself like a 15-minute allotment, and I'll be good. So I bought a big one and I gifted it to my sister, who has not worked on it in a very long time. So she's like, I need to give it back to you, because she's pretty much as much. Okay. So we talked about this again this week, and I was like, people really want to see you on the podcast, Amanda. She goes, to do what? I don't have any crafts. I don't craft anymore. So, you know, just look there and look stupid. She's like, people like you just by yourself. And I'm like, no, they like you and what you add to the podcast, and they love our banter. And needless to say, it's not going to happen anytime soon, getting her back on the podcast. However, and she's pretty much been just watching movies, which has always been her jam, watching movies and reading and socializing with her friends. So, but anyway, this is a smaller canvas that I picked up to go with a couple of Andy's Lego sets. So this is a London diamond painting. And this one is different from my first one in that the majority of the background is not diamond painted. It is only the bus, the car here, and then the Big Ben in the background. So I will take this off here. And this is only 9 colors, unlike the other one, which has like 100 different beads and colors. So you can see here where I've done the car. I've done 2 colors on this, the black and then a gray. But I've started to do onto the bus here, but you can see the bedazzle on the car there. But Andy actually has a double-decker Lego bus that he's put together. He's also put together, I think it's Big Ben, but I also think it's the cat, whatever this is, the cat. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not that much of a Anglophile that I know all my stuff about London. He's put together a second one. Architectural structure from London, and then he also has the London Bridge, which he has yet to put together. So I was like, oh, you know, you could do a little vignette and then hang this in a frame by it, and it could be like a little Andy and Steve crafty vignette. And I have not worked on this in forever and a day, but I've worked on it the last 2 days for about 10 to 15 minutes. So problem is I get so many crafts and then I have to split my time amongst all of them. Sorry, it's not you, it's me. The coffee kicked in, but now it's like, bye. It might have been the coffee or the Halloween Twinkie that I ate when I got home. I needed a little afternoon snack to keep me going. And it wasn't like orange, it was just like a chocolate Twinkie. And Andy bought them because he likes Twinkies. I actually don't think they're amazing, but people with sweet tooths, beggars can't be choosers, right? So that's what's going on in the scene shop. Let's talk about in the spotlight. First off, what am I watching? I haven't finished reading anything, so I finished watching Orphan Black Season 1. I'm watching it through Amazon. This was a show that had 5 seasons and started in 2013, ended in 2018. Has the actress Tatiana Manley. She's a Canadian actress. She was also in Perry Mason that I talked about last episode, which is a HBO series, and she played Sister June, or I think it's June. She's, if you've watched the show, she's the religious zealot with the blonde hair, platinum blonde hair. She is not a blonde. She's a brunette. However, this show, Orphan Black, I'd heard about before and heard it was so good. And she's the lead star of it. This is kind of her breakout role. And she plays 1.5 million different roles. So the premise of the show, and you learn this in the first episode, is that one of the main characters, Sarah Manning, she comes to soon realize that there are several other individuals out in the world that look exactly like her. And by the end of the first episode, she comes to soon realize through a small number of them that she is one of several clones. And from there, it goes on to secret happenings and getting to know the different clones, and they're helping each other but trying to figure out their background and who is kind of overseeing them, but they're also being attacked. There were several of them that were killed off. And so it is really good. Her acting is just amazing, and she's super good in Perry Mason. And I feel like she was really starting to get her footing here, but plays at least 5 roles. Well, I take that back. 4 roles in the first season consistently, with different accents, and just the way she can morph into these characters is amazing. So I highly recommend Orphan Black. I can't wait to start season 2, but I think I'm going to try Monsterland, which came out on Hulu. I think I might give that a few episodes before, so that I'm not just binging left and right. Andy and I then watched the movie The Devil All the Time, which is on Netflix. This stars Tom Holland, that one Skarsgård, the youngest Skarsgård. Robert Pattinson's in it, and a few other names you might notice. And this is about a group of individuals with dark pasts and futures, dark, ominous figures that kind of revolve around one man's life from pretty much pre-birth through him becoming an adult and finding himself. It is set down in, I want to say, Appalachia area, between 2 different towns, during right after the war, World War II, into the beginning of the 1970s. It is dark at some points. I think it's well acted. I felt like it was a little slow at times, and it is over 2 hours long. So I thought it was good. It was just like, where are we going? Why are we following so many different stories? But it was a different take on something, so I applaud them for that. I thought it was a nice piece of art, and I would give it that. I then watched American Murder, The Family Next Door. This is a Netflix documentary about Chris, what was his name? Is it Hayes? I remember hearing about his case, but this is about the man who murdered his wife and 2 daughters, and then perceived to just, over the first few days they were missing, pretty much, falsify everything. But the interesting thing about this documentary is everything is told with first person narration. So the wife was very much a Facebook videographer, in terms of constantly putting family videos and her own vlogging on Facebook. And so it's very eerie in the fact that it's almost her narrating a lot of the story. And then there are body cams from the police officers during the initial investigation and then the interrogation. So I thought it was interesting. I watched that one night. It was, it's not a series. I didn't know a whole lot about the story, so if you're into true crime, again, that's American Murder, The Family Next Door on Netflix. And then last but not least, I watched a thriller, supernatural, supposed to be scary, but it's not. It more deals with genetics and the human brain and technology. And it is put out through Blumhouse, which does a lot of the scary kind of mass-produced sci-fi horror suspense movies. And it's called Black Box. This was on Amazon. They released 2 movies, one called Black Box, one called The Lie, which I'm going to watch here at the beginning of October. And then they're releasing 2 more, I believe, here in a couple of days. Black Box is about a gentleman who is suffering from extreme memory loss and amnesia after being in a car accident with his wife. His wife unfortunately lost her life. The young gentleman was unconscious and essentially brain dead for about 3 days, and all of a sudden he came back to... I'm sorry if you hear barking. Andy is home. Sorry. I believe Andy's home. So, but it is about, he comes back to consciousness, and his young daughter is really trying to help him get his life back in track. 6 months later, he's doing really well, except he's suffering from a lot of memory loss and forgetfulness, and he's trying to be a single dad and raise his daughter and get his job back and things like that. And it's not going as well as planned, and this renowned neurologist who's played by, I just had her name, Felicia Rashad. She was the mother, I believe, in the Cosby Show. She is the neurologist, and she's like, I have this new therapy called the Black Box, which essentially puts you in your mind's subconscious to kind of go back and recover your memories. And each time he goes into these... into the black box, he's recovering memories, but he's uncovering memories that are unsettling to him, and through talking with his friend and his daughter, he's realizing that this shouldn't have happened, and needless to say, there are some diabolical forces behind his recovery. So it was an interesting take. It is along the lines of things like Get Out and Us. So if those intrigue you, I would highly recommend Black Box on Amazon. All right, let's move on to stash enhancement because I've been a bad boy again. Last time I showed you my stash enhancement from Freckled Whimsy for her Colorway of the Month yarn club that I joined. And she did send out an email with some updates regarding the club. And she said, reminder, as a club member, you get to go back and shop any extras that I may have from previous month's clubs. These are never going to be dyed again. These are just over dyes, things that I had extra from previous month's clubs. They are not available to the general public. They're only available to club members to purchase. And as a club member, I also get a forever coupon for ready to ship items in her shop, which is amazing. So I took advantage of that coupon and I shopped the club shipments that I had not seen previously this year that called out to me. And so I got 2 more skeins of self-striping yarn. The first one I fell in love with, this was the August 2020 colorway. And this is called Channel the Flannel. This comes with an 80 gram, it says an 80 gram, doesn't feel like maybe. An 80 gram self-striping with a 20 gram mini, which is what I originally wanted to sign up for in the club, but I'm on the 100 gram plus 20 gram mini in the club. This is on her Dreamy base, which is 75% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 10% tencel, which is 433 yards in total for 100 grams. And I love this. So it has self-striping of a very pale gray, a medium gray, a dark gray, a kind of pale and darker turquoise, or like a ice blue. There's also like a mint green in there. And then there's a gold too. And then it comes with that many to coordinate. And then I also picked up, this is probably going to be for, it may be for me, I don't know. It has a lot of pink and some soft purples in it. But this is the April 2020 colorway called Good in Every Day. And I was like, that sounds weird. Shouldn't it be like good in everything? Like, and then I'm like, no, you should find the good in every day, right? Because it's not every day. It's 2 words, every day. So this again is on our Dreamy base with the Tencel. And here's what this one looks like. So this one has some of those same blues in it, along with like a periwinkle, a teal green, a dusty rose, a darker dusty rose, and a gray, as well as a gold. So yeah, that's what's really cool. Like, she does some amazing colors. These aren't just like super easy, you know, knockout one-of-a-kind colors, because I'm never going to repeat them. I applaud her for that, because I'm like, if I create a color, I'm not going to never repeat it again. I might give it some exclusivity, but I have the right to bring it back. Unless it's an exclusive for a wholesale for a shop. But so those are from Freckled Whimsy. She's another Illinois yarn dyer. She's from Northern Illinois. Right up 39 from us. So those came to live in the stash. All right, let's move on to this episode's giveaway. Again, from a generous benefactor. I'm going to be giving away a skein of Schopelwohl Flying Saucer. So I've never seen this. I guess these are 2 at a time variegated yarns. And this is in the Dr. Luft colorway, which you can't see very well there, but I do have a picture of it linked in the thread on our Dramatic Knits video podcast Ravelry group under the thread Shoppable Flying Saucer Giveaway. And you must be a member of the Dramatic Knits group to be eligible, and you need to post only once, 1 answer please per person, and if you would, you have to answer the prompt. Not if you would, you have to answer the prompt. And this episode's prompt is, how do you like your eggs cooked? If you don't like eggs, you can say that. Or if you're allergic, like my sister's turned out to be, unfortunately for her. I'm always a scrambled person. I do not like egg yolk. Unless it's like in deviled eggs or egg salad. I do not like hard-boiled eggs without like being mashed up. I do not like runny eggs. I believe Andy likes them over easy, but he likes the yolk, and he always gives the egg whites to the dogs. Because he likes to dip his toast in it, which is totally gross to me. But yeah. I have had a fried egg on a burger, and that's good. Like when the yolk is on a bunch of stuff. That was really good. But anyway, so if you look, it'll show you on the picture, but you can either do 2 at a time or wind it off, and it says you can like stick a knitting needle through here and kind of wind it off, or like hang it from a doorway or something. It's got a little picture on the back. The instructions are, there's some instructions in English, but yeah. So they are dyed variegatedly, but they should match a matching pair of variegated, which is really cool. So that's what's up for grabs this episode. Head on over to the Dramatic Knits Ravelry group to enter for that. And let's move into a round of applause then. So last episode, we were giving away 4 skeins of Mountain Colors and the pattern, which is a kit for the Diana vest. You don't have to knit the Diana vest. You could do a cool shawl or something different with it. But this whole kit, again, was generously donated to the podcast. And I used a random number generator to pick a winner. The prompt last episode was, what's the most recent thing you've done for the first time? And random number generator picked number 15, who is TG Knits, and that's Trish from Georgia. So congratulations, Trish. Trish said, I picked out what I want my first grandchild to call me in the spring. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations, Trish. I grew up in a family where we didn't have nicknames for our grandma and grandpa. I didn't know that was a thing. Like G-Ma or Yaya or Nana or Oh My or all these ones that I hear now. We just call them grandma and grandpa, grandma and grandpa. We didn't even use their name or like their last name, just... I didn't see, when I was very little, I got to see more of my dad's grandparents when I was still visiting with my dad. I hadn't seen my dad since he was 7. Whatever, get over it. I'm over it. But when he was still kind of around, my mom still tried to keep a relationship with them when they were still living in the Chicago suburbs not with us, but we were up there as well. They then moved down to Texas many years ago. Since then, my grandmother has passed a couple of years ago. And now we haven't even heard from my grandfather. We knew that they were still in contact with my dad, even though they claimed they weren't. And what I like to think is that my dad took in my grandfather after they were not in an assisted living community, but they were in an elderly living community, one of the like mobile home communities down in Texas. And I talked with my grandfather. We always called on Christmas Eve. And I talked to him one year, the year that my grandmother passed, because it was like 6 months after, and I didn't even know, unfortunately. He didn't reach out to let us know. And I'm horrible, and family is who's in your life at that moment, and I'm really bad at keeping those family connections long distance going. And I know many of us are like that, so I don't feel utterly horrible. It just happens. But anyway, I knew he was not long for living by himself without being monitored. And last I had heard, my father and my his stepwife, sorry, not my stepwife. She's my godmother, if that tells you how that worked out. Yeah. So my dad and stepmother bought a assisted living facility, and were running that. That was their careers, last I had heard. So I was thinking that he probably took in my grandfather from Texas over to Arizona. So hopefully that's the case. My other grandparents, unfortunately, there was a falling out in the family, and they are both still alive, but in an assisted living community up in the Chicago suburbs. And one of my uncles kind of deals on their behalf. So yeah. But anyway, why are we talking about grandparents? Yeah. Oh, because you're going to become I'm sorry to make that such a downturn, but you know what? Trish, you're going to be an amazing grandparent, and I'm so excited that you have your nickname all picked out, and can't wait for your joy to arrive in the spring. All right, let's move on. Don't forget to enter everything you finish this month into the October 2020 Race to the Finished Object contest. We'll have 2 wonderful prizes. One will be a physical prize from our prize pool donated by generous viewers like you. And the second prize will be a pattern from our featured designer, who is Jennifer Lassonde of the Downseller Studio podcast and the Jennifer Lassonde Ravelry store. We are running a knit along in our group for any Jennifer Lassonde pattern for the entire time that she is being featured, which is October 1st through December 31st. You can get 30% off of all of her self-published patterns using the code DRAMATIC until the end of October, and you can use that repetitively and as on many patterns as you would like. So thank you, Jennifer, for donating that, not only to be featured, but giving us the coupon code. All right, let's move into center stage, Leading Men Fiber Arts. First up, let's talk about some new items in the shop. Highlighting some new items. We got a restock of 1 more. We sold the first 2 very quickly, so I restocked one of the PCH tote bags. These are from Kiko leather, and they are 100% genuine leather, crafted in Los Angeles. And this one is the raw leather on the outside. It does have a pocket on the outside, and it also has leather straps, and it has no pockets on the inside, but it does have a magnetic closure. So just getting them close together, they will close shut, like so. So it's about the width of my torso. The dimensions are on the listing. If you're interested, this is under Project Bags. And next up, we got a restocking of the Kiko leather notions trays. The first 3 went like hotcakes, so I ordered a bunch more. These are done in the leather bottoms with a wool felt, and they're a nice size, as you can see next to my head. So great to put your notions, scissors, stitch markers, crochet hook. You can put your whole notion set in here, and they do unsnap to flat pack into your bag if you want to travel with it. So that is the Kiko leather notions tray. That is under tools and accessories. We got a new flavor of Pom Pom in the shop, which I just got a new one in today. Another new flavor, but they're not in the shop, so I'll show it to you next time. These ones are a fun, cool purple, blue, and electric green. I'm calling this Monster Mash. These ones are $5. They're a 4.3-inch faux fur Pom Pom. These will look really good if you have a blow dryer. They will look much better if you style them. But who cares? They're just fun, right? So I thought these were kind of Halloween-y. They don't scream Halloween, but they would be really cute to go on Halloween. So I'm calling this Monster Mash. Can you see the blue there? There's the blue. Next up, a new pattern in the store, because I'm planning on kitting these eventually. I need to get a sample knit. This is the Mojave pattern by Knitterella. This is a cowl and an infinity cowl. There's both. It can either call for 2 skeins of sport weight to do the shorter cowl version, or which is about 22 inches circular, the smaller one. And then the infinity cowl, which is on the front, is about 50 inches circular. And let me just look here. I had it in the listing, but I'm trying to remember if it's 4 or 5 skeins that you need. For the infinity scarf, you need 2 skeins of a main color plus 1 skein of 3 other colors. So that's a 5 skein sport weight cowl, but it is, let's see if I can show it to you. It is so pretty though. So when I do kit it, I will do a couple in the infinity, and then I'll do a couple in the 2 skein cowl version. The cowl says it is 6.5 inches wide, and it is knit in the round, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, it's knit in the round, so it's double thick. So these patterns do come with a scratch-off download code, as well as a hard copy, professionally printed copy. And they're the same price as they are on Ravelry. I don't mark them up. This is ideally to sell the yarn with it. So, but these are $6 in the shop. And last but not least, something else I wanted to highlight for you. This is a soak travel pack. So if you want to try out soaks, all their different flavors and scents, you can try out the travel pack. These are $11, and they come with 8 mini soaks in here. And they say they're one-time use, but I use them for like 3 or 4. You don't need much soak, especially if you're doing just one object. Oh, and last, this is not in the shop yet, but it will be here soon. We just got a bunch of items from Laura Nelkin, who is a wonderful designer, teacher, and kit creator. And we've worked with her on many different projects providing yarn support and yarn for her kits. And so I brought in several things to make the kits with our yarn, but also she's known especially in the beading world. And so I've got several of her travel beading kits, and these will be up in the shop soon. These will be $16, and they come with a little travel tin. And the materials included in the kit is a mini size 11 crochet hook for placing size 8 beads, a mini size 10 crochet hook for placing size 6 beads, as well as a dental floss threader for stringing beads. And so it says, fill your kit with beads and you are good to go. So you just have to, buy your beads. You can put them in here and you are good to go. So these little crochet hooks for placing beads, they're wonderful. They come with a little beaded light bulb stitch markers, so you can pin them into a bag if you wanted to. So those are that. So they come with the 2 crochet hooks, the tin, and the flosser, the dental floss for pre-stringing beads. So yeah, those are all new to the shop or coming to the shop here soon. And we have a new pattern that was just released as a collaboration with Heather Booz. And this is the Susanna Cowell. Susanna comes with 2 different versions, a thin stripe, which she generously sent us the original thin stripe version, or a thicker stripe version. So she has 2 different cowls, very similar to this, called Odetta and Odessa, I believe, which are from the Gunslinger series by Stephen King. I just realized this when I was looking at the pattern. And Susanna is another one of the Gunslingers. They morph to become Susanna or something like this, I read in her thing. So what's really cool is this is knit. It looks like on the bias with a lot of short rows and then seamed up the back. But you use 1 skein of our showstopper. She used Darkest Hour in both her versions. And then you use 2 mini skeins of whatever colors you want to go with your contrasting. So she put here Koi Pond and King Max. And it's one of those shawls. It's a shawl cowl. So it's asymmetrical. I love this because it's not too close to the neck that it's going to, one, catch on manly beards, but also doesn't feel like it's choking me. It has really good drape so I can still vent because I get very warm. But yet it has, I love the asymmetrical. You know me from my old, sorry, I kicked the tripod. You know me from knitting all my boomerangs. This is so my jam. So I've knit up a bunch of Darkest Hour that we're going to get up in the shop with several different mini skein options here soon. And you can purchase the pattern on Ravelry. It just went live the night before last. So Susanna, I will have it linked in the show notes, which you can find at dramaticknits.com, or you can search Heather Booz and look at her newly released patterns on Ravelry. I am loving this. This is the, again, thinner stripe version. There is a thicker stripe version as well. You get both versions in the pattern for 1 price. And I think if I were out, I would be so wearing this all the time at fiber events. So it's, it'll be a kit that's 36 plus the pattern. So that's not bad for what looks like a shawl. And you don't have to worry about a shawl pin or a closure or anything. There's not a lot of bulk back here, but it will keep the back of your neck warm. And you've got interest back here with where the short rows come together. It's my jam. No, it's not. That's my jam. That's my pattern. But this is, again, Susanna by Heather Booz. B-O-O-S. And she also has a mini Advent knit-along cowl going on, coming up, and we're one of her recommended yarn dyers for mini sets, because eventually I'm going to get our 2020. It's not an advent set together, and we will do pre-orders. Right now we are out of stock of mini skeins and patiently waiting for our supplier to get more in, as everybody who is a yarn dyer is. So I can't really take pre-orders till I know that I have the yarn in hand. We were lucky to scrounge and get enough to fulfill our dumpster fire ornament kits. So, that one takes, her mini advent cowl takes 12 mini skeins, and I actually think our yarn review set would be really good for that. So I may actually get somebody to knit that or start it myself. I can't start everything myself. Anyway, moving on, I want to remind you about our Cast of Characters Mini Skein Yarn Club. You can sign up at any time and start where we are in the alphabet. So the Cast of Characters, we are sending out 5 mini skeins every month. We started in April with all the A's, and we are just going in alphabetical order through all of our colorways, minus any new colorways of the month for that year. So if a new colorway comes up in that month, that was a new colorway in 2020. For example, Carnival was a new colorway that was supposed to go out in the lineup on that month, but that was a new colorway this year, so we didn't include it. But so on and so forth. It's $30 flat rate in the US with free shipping. We also do have a loyalty program via our online store, or if you check out with us in person, all it takes for you to do is to enter your phone number. That is how it logs you. I am now using Square for my invoicing minus the club. So if you put in a custom order, I will be able, if you're a loyalty member, I will be able to add your custom orders to your loyalty points. However, if you're a Cast of Characters club member, you do not get loyalty points for that because we are doing free shipping. It's actually a better deal to get the free shipping than it is to get the 10% back loyalty points, which is essentially what you get back. But I highly recommend that you join our loyalty program by entering your phone number at checkout anytime you check out at the online. If you would like to check if you're a loyalty member, you can always email me, or if you want to sign up, I can provide you a link to go in and register or check your status and see how many points you have. All right, we have several knit-alongs going on in the Leading Men Fiber Arts Ravelry group. The first one is the Incendio Cowell, just recently released via Notions magazine, which is an online magazine, and designed by Lori Wagner, who's a wonderful designer out of California that we've worked with several times before. This is a 1 skein DK weight cowl, and it was originally designed in our Spiced Apple Cider colorway, which I showed off last episode. We are doing a knit along for that in the group. In the thread, there are coupon codes for getting a percentage off of DK weight yarn in our shop through the end of the knit along, which is December 31st. And you can knit as many as you want and enter them for prizes. The grand prize will be a $25 gift certificate to the shop, as well as 6 other winners. 3 winners are going to win a pattern from Lori Wagner, and 3 other winners are going to win a pattern from Notions magazine. We also are doing the Irresistible Knit Along. This is for the poncho or capelet. This was going on for the last 3 months. It ends at the end of this month, but the winner of that will receive a $100 gift certificate to the Leading Men Fiber Art Shop, and another winner will win a pattern from the designer of that pattern. And then last but not least, our third knit along is the Happenings wrap, which you saw me working on in Works in Progress, and that is going on until the end of November. Again, all of our knit-alongs, you can go to the appropriate thread in the Leading Men Fiber Arts Ravelry group, and there are discount codes for yarn, but also most likely for pattern purchasing. And for the Happenings wrap, that will be a $50 gift certificate to the grand prize winner, as well as one person will win a pattern from Laura Tabbitt. Other than that, my voice is going a bit raw, and I've come to the end. I'm a little over an hour, but I had a ton of things to show you. I hope you enjoyed what you saw on the podcast this episode. And as always, I hope that you give me a thumbs up on YouTube and leave a comment. I always read the comments, and if you ask a question or need help with anything, I do reply back. And you can find the show notes at dramaticknits.com. We do have the Leading Men Fiber Arts Instagram, Facebook, and Ravelry group. And of course, there is the Dramatic Knits video podcast group on Ravelry. And until I see you in another 2 weeks, I hope you make something dramatic.